Hey, what is up, guys? You're watching Epic Pokemon TCG, and in today's video, guys, what I got for you, I'm going to be showing you guys all the decks that I have built IRL since I am about to be making the switch to next rotation. Because quite frankly, this format sucks. I'm kind of tired of playing against the same old shit over and over. So we are going to be building some new decks and trying out some new stuff. So I figured I would go ahead and just showcase off all these decks here for you guys, list by list, and give them a little proper send off, because having this many decks has actually been a lot of fun to play around with. And I think honestly, like right now, this was the most that I've ever had in one time. So
that's what she said.
sit back, relax, guys, and we're gonna take a look at some deck lists. All right, so we're gonna get this one out of the way first. So the first deck I'm gonna show you guys is Lugia. So obviously everybody should know by now what Lugia does. It is obviously the best deck in the format, and it is the deck that consistently plays the best throughout each event. So we're going to briefly, and this is how I'm going to do every single deck, is I'm just going to lay it out and just kind of talk about some key cards and the general strategy. I'm not going to go into detail on everything, just some specific cards. So what we're going to take a look at here is Lugia and Archeops, of course, the dynamic duo. So Archeops has the ability, says once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 special energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon, and then you shuffle your deck. Of course, Archeops is a stage 2, but we can bypass that with Lugia's Summoning Star ability, which allows you to grab 2 colorless Pokemon out of your discard pile and place them straight on your bench. So then that basically opens up access to all of your special energy. You get 2 Archeops on the bench, and then from there, basically, you can just kind of set up whatever the heck you want. So, of course, we do have our amazing rare Yveltal, Raikou. We have Radiant Charizard in here. We have Stoutland for our Lost Box matchups. We got 2 Luminions, that way we can, of course, get our supporters. Oranguru to put back some cards, specifically energies, that way we have targets for Archeops. Pumpkaboo to get rid of Path of the Peak. We also run Lost Vacuum and Collapse Stadium as well. Basically, the general strategy of the deck is to charge up different attackers depending on what deck you're facing off against. Raikou is really good for picking off cheap, easy prizes. Yveltal literally just knocks out whatever you want, so that's really nice. And then, of course, we run Powerful Energy in here as well, because that just gives Lugia some additional damage. Same with Stoutland, which allows us to one-shot those Lost Box Pokemon, such as Comfey, Cramorant, etc. And then from there, we take an additional prize card, so basically we're knocking out a V Pokemon. We do run Birdkeeper in here. Obviously, the bane of this deck's existence can be the Articuno or Zekrom matchup. So, Birdkeeper is just kind of in here. But overall, yeah, this is the Lugia deck that I was rocking. I just kind of had it built in case anyone wanted to face off against Lugia. And yeah, now we're going to move on to the second deck. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next deck. And before you comment, yes, I know I'm not running any of the Stone cards, the Sky Seal, excuse me, or Forest Seal, whatever. I know, and I'll go into that here in just a second. But yeah, these are supposed to be those. And I'll just kind of go into that here in a second. So next we're going to take a look at is a deck that I have been playing around with. This is primarily what I have been playing lately, just because, like I said, start of the video, tired of the same old crap, and I wanted to play something fun. So next deck we're going to take a look at is going to be Rotom V-Star. So Rotom V-Star is pretty good. It's exactly like Rotom V, just a little better. Has the attack Scrap Pulse for 80, and then you put any number of Pokemon tool cards from your discard pile into the Lost Zone, and then this attack is going to do 40 more damage for each you put into the Lost Zone this way. So that's why we are running Buku's of tools here. Its V-Star power is actually incredible, and kind of why I veered away from having Sky Seal or Forest Seal. So Conversion Star, during your turn, you may use this ability, discard any number of cards from your hand, and then draw that many cards. I honestly just kind of kept finding myself in situations where I've already used the V-Star power. They were just kind of dead tool cards that I couldn't really get any benefit from. And I basically didn't have the complete full list whenever I went into a tournament. And I swapped them out for 2 Choice Belt. And I ended up loving the Choice Belts. I honestly ended up really loving the Choice Belts in certain matchups, because they just kind of helped me with key numbers. I didn't have to pitch another tool. That was just in there for future reference. So that was really good. And kind of how I play this deck is my turn 1 is I will try to get Diancie up in the active spot. Of course, I got that sexy Diancie. Ooh. Anyway, so I'll try to get Diancie up in the active spot, so that way my Rotom V can just kind of chill. And we're going to go into Rotom V along with Speed Energy in here just a second, just to tell you guys, like, the turn 1s I get with this deck I think are a lot of fun. So it has scrap short for 40 plus, and then it's going to do 40 more damage, just like Rotom V-Star, for each tool card you put into the Lost Zone from your discard pile. But instant charge, you draw 3 cards, and then your turn ends. So the ideal turn, get Diancie up in the active spot, attach a speed energy, draw 2 cards, and then instant charge for 3 more cards. So there we go. There's 5 additional cards right there that you can kind of mess around with. We also have some support cards in here like Toolbox, which just lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and then you get any number of tool cards you find and add them to your hand, which can lead to a huge conversion star. I actually personally really love this deck. It is a lot of fun to play, and it's just something different that can crank out a lot of numbers. And just playing all the tools and discarding them, and then just like piling up all these tools into your Lost Zone, and just dishing out a bunch of damage is a lot of fun. We have Shopping Center in here as well. This will let you pick up a tool, which is really good. As for the tools here, I kind of need to go over them here a little bit. Air Balloon is just going to give you some free retreat whenever you might need that. The cool thing about it, you can slap it on a Rangy Boy here and start your deck for 2 tool cards. And then if you want a Shopping Center after you retreat them just to get that tool back in your hand, you can do that. Big Parasol is going to protect you, of course, from Yveltal. It's going to protect you from Sableye, which is really nice. Big Charm is going to make your Pokemon a little beefier. And then Experience Share is how you kind of keep this deck going. You Experience Share a Rotom V, and more or less this is just kind of basically like your turn 2 play. You attach your second energy, start attack with Rotom V-Star. You try to at least have a basic energy on there. So whenever Rotom V-Star does go down, the energy moves right back to your other Rotom V. And so then you can probably Shopping Center, or if you're stuck with it on the Rotom V, that's fine. But basically, that's just kind of how you keep your energy on the field and allow you to keep rotating attackers. So that's pretty much it. That's the general basis of it. You're just trying to load a bunch of tools into the discard pile and then just send them to the Lost Zone and dish out a lot of damage and take some prizes. I freaking love this deck, and it was one that kind of kept me going when I had just drastically lost interest in this format. Alrighty, so the next one we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Zoroark V-Star. This was a deck that I was really excited to see whenever it first came out. I bought the stuff immediately for it and tried it out. It wasn't like bad, but it wasn't great at the same time. Obviously, this is a deck that hasn't really performed the best. There has been some placings where it's done pretty well, but I just wanted to build this because we of course have Radiant Charge Bug, which we'll go over here in just a second. But first I'm going to read you Zoroark V-Star's text on here. So Tricking Curse is going to do 50 times the amount of Pokemon on your side of the field that has any damage counters on it. And then Phantom Star is basically Professor's Research. You just pitch your hand, draw 7. And so the cool thing about this deck is that we have this Gengar here, which has the ability Netherworld Gate, excuse me. So when this is in the discard pile, you get to just slap it down on the field and then put 3 damage counters on it, which is really nice. And we'll kind of go into why that's so good here in just a second. These two have just amazing synergy. You're able to put a Pokemon onto the field, damage it, and there is already some damage for you to kind of go off with. Radiant Charge Bug is a card that when I saw it, I was like, yo, this could be really good in this deck. So it has Shocking Block. I know it's kind of hard to read because this card is so freaking shiny. It's radiant. See what I did there? I hate myself too. So whenever a player attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their Pokemon V, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So one of your Zoroark go down and you play down another Zoroark V or something like that. You attach a double colorless to it. It takes 2 damage counters. There's your 50 damage. And it's just kind of a good way to keep damage on your side of the field. And if your opponent attaches their Pokemon V, they take 2 damage counters, which is really nice. So that just kind of helps you KO Pokemon, basically. It just kind of puts them within range, or just makes it a little easier to knock out. So when I talked about Gengar's Netherworld Gate putting 3 damage counters on there, we are immediately going to be taking a look at the card Damage Pump. So Damage Pump allows you to move up to 2 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to your Pokemon any way you like. So if you have some Pokemon sitting on your side of the field, they don't have any damage counters on them, you can move 2 damage from Gengar over to them, and then right there, bam, 150 damage off of that one Gengar with Damage Pump, which is really nice. We also run a Gatejaw Bog. This is a really cool card because whenever a player plays a basic Pokemon from hand onto their bench, that Pokemon takes 2 damage counters. So if you have this down, you start playing your Pokemon down, they take a bunch of damage, or they take 2 damage counters, excuse me. That's just going to rack up a lot of damage. And of course, you know we got to run the boy Manaphy because we are damaging our own Pokemon, and that is just going to make for a bad time against decks that can hit the bench. As for the 4 energy here, we also run a Canceling Cologne, so that made me want to throw in Silene and Palpad to hopefully be able to recycle those cards. Silene allows you to flip 2 coins, put any number of cards for each heads on top of your deck, which is really nice. Just a good way to get the canceling cologne back, or it can get you back your energy. It can get you back any type of resource you might need. And then I just like running Energy Lotto with this deck just because I only run 4 energy and I want to make sure that I can at least try to hit them. You just never know. And also the cool thing about this deck is that it can really benefit from Serena's other ability, allowing you to discard cards from your hand, so you can throw Gengars into the discard pile and potentially draw off to that, which is really nice. The choice belts are in here because this deck obviously doesn't already crank out enough damage. But overall, Zoroark is a deck that I just really liked, and I wanted to build it again, and I was very glad to. And with Radiant Chargebug, sorry, my chair keeps squeaking. Thank you, chair. I appreciate that. Radiant Chargebug, it just kind of sparked my interest again, and I wanted to throw this deck back together. Before I go into detail on this deck, I just want to say that this deck was made for a beginning player who wanted to play Flaffy. So that's why this deck isn't exactly crazy teched out. It's more or less just kind of built as like a straightforward Flaffy list, and might be missing some key cards and such and strategies and options that most of your typical Flaffy decks normally have. But Flaffy is a deck that's kind of all about attaching a bunch of energy from your discard pile and just kind of using a wide variety of attackers. So we're going to start by taking a look at the cool, sexy, cool character art, excuse me, Flaffy here. Oh, I said alt art, excuse me. I just triggered somebody. They actually not an alt art. Anyway, they're over there hugging their Charizards. Okay, so Dynamotor is going to allow you to attach an electric energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So you want to dump some electric energy in there, have some targets for Dynamotor, and then we can just kind of set up these attackers, which is really nice. So I'm going to kind of go over the attackers here and just kind of talk about them. So we, of course, have Snorlax with Unfazed Fat. Go over Zapdos. We have Raikou V, Raichu V. Medicham V was an option because they thought this card looked cool. And I said, well, hey, good news. We can actually run Medicham V in this deck. It'll actually kind of make sense. So the first one we're going to take a look at is going to be Raikou V, because it's the one that has probably seen the most play over its time of being out. So Fleet Foot, it allows you to just draw an extra card, which is really nice. That can come in clutch. Lightning Rondo is going to do 20 and then 20 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon and your bench Pokemon, which is really nice. And with this deck, typically when all things are going well, you're going to have a pretty big bench size. So Raikou is just capable of dishing out a ton of damage. It only takes 2 energy, which is really easy to set up with this deck. And that's why we have that in there. Zapdos is in here because it allows your basic electric Pokemon to do 10 extra damage. And you never know, that might help with some numbers. Regieleki is in here because this can actually kind of screw with Lost Box a little bit. So it does 120, and then you discard all electric energy from this Pokemon, and it's going to do 40 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Not only that, you can just kind of 120 something and then hit 2 Pokemon for 40 and just kind of soften them up and set them up for future knockouts. Or you can just kind of keep going in with Regieleki and just 120, 120. You might hit something that you already hit with 120. And then you might hit it again. It just really, Regieleki is in here because Terraspark can just do a lot of different things, which is nice. And then Snorlax, this sucker just hits for 180 damage. And then Unfazed Fat is just really nice. Prevent effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. Then this Pokemon that can just come in handy in general. Thumping Snore just does 180 and it only gives up 1 prize. It's a sleep, but most of the time with it only having 150 HP, it might not even survive the turn. Even if it does, we do have things in here like Escape Rope and Scoop Up Net, because you just never know if it does survive the turn. It's still asleep. You can put this on the bench and then bring it back up, or you can pick it up and put it back in your hand, set something else up. But Snorlax all around, just a really nice attacker. And then Medicham, we're only going to be using the first attack with this. It has Yoga Loop. You put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If your opponent's Pokemon was knocked out by damage from this attack, or by this attack, excuse me, you take another turn, which is pretty sweet. So if you have something on there that only has 20 damage left, you just go and take another turn, which is really nice. Raichu V is in here because it has wonderful synergy with Flaffy, and, well, they thought Raichu was cute. So Fast Charge, you can use this attack on your first turn. Basically, to search your deck for an electric energy card and attach it to Raichu. Then Dynamic Spark is going to do 60 times the amount of electric energy that you discard from all your Pokemon. So it doesn't even have to be on Raichu. So if you have 2 electric energy on Raichu V, then you can just kind of Dynamotor, put some stuff on the bench, and then just go and hit something, which is really nice. We're also running Manaphy just because you never know. Obviously, Flaffy only has 90 HP. We got to try to protect it at all costs. Crobat is in here for some additional draw, and Greninja is going to be in here so that way we can pitch our electric energy, so that way we can have targets for Dynamotor. I also want to point out that we got these cool matching bosses orders. Pretty sweet. Speed energy in here because drawing extra cards is fun. Level Ball can search out your Flaffy lines. Stormy Mountains can search out pretty much all of your electric basic Pokemon, which is really nice. This deck is all about just throwing energy into the discard pile and then using different attackers for whatever different situation you might be. And obviously it is a deck that has seen success. Obviously it has fallen off, but still it is a deck that can be pretty strong when it does get set up. Oh baby, it is time to talk about something fun, and that is going to be Dewgong. This deck by no means is competitive, but man, is it fun to play. This is probably going to be the most straightforward deck that I'm going to talk about, because we really only need to talk about 2 cards in this deck. And that is going to be Dewgong and Finneon. So Finneon has Oceanic Accompaniment. Accompaniment? A condiment? I don't know. Anyway, whatever this word is right here. Yeah. Public education. All right, so it is going to allow you to attach as many water energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that has the swim freely attack. Excuse me, almost said flow return. So you can load up Dewgong with a bunch of energy and then use the attack flow return, which is going to allow you to do 40 damage for each water energy that you shuffle back into your deck. So you shuffle any number of water energy from your Pokemon into your deck. So it doesn't even have to be on Dewgong, but you might as well just dump a bunch of energies onto Dewgong anyway. And then, of course, it's just going to do 40 times. This deck can crank out a lot of damage, especially late game when you kind of used up your resources. So the deck is very straightforward. We run 4 Capacious Bucket and 2 Lady just to get energy to our hand. And the reason why Barrel is so important in this deck is because we're lowering our hand size with each attachment, each item card we play, and then we can Industrious Incisors, draw more cards, load up Dewgong with more energy, and really that is the freaking deck, guys. We have 1 Snorlax with the ability Gourmandize, just so we can draw till we have 7, just to get ourselves an extra hand size going here. But really, guys, you are just loading up a field, ideally with 2 Dewgong, 1 Finneon, and then the rest is just Barrel, so you can start spamming some crackhead draw. So Capacious Bucket is going to let you get 2 water energy, and then Lady, which is going to be the supporter, is going to allow you to grab 4 energy. So we have 80 damage here, 160 here. We have a Rita, or a Rita, however you want to say her name, which will allow you to grab a water Pokemon and an item card, so you can, of course, grab your Capacious Bucket to get some more damage going, which is really nice. Overall, Dewgong is not by any means a great deck, but again, it's one of those decks that I absolutely love playing. And this deck has been Lost Box before, and then I switched it to Dewgong, built Lost Box, missed Dewgong, swapped it back to Dewgong. It's just a fun deck. It's really bad, but it's a blast to play. And you know, we had to end it on the deck that broke my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, bear witness to the deck that got 1 win at the Arlington Regionals. That's right, I never took it apart. I started to de-sleeve it, got really frustrated and sleeved it again. I couldn't let it go. Spent too much time tweaking this deck. But yeah, this is Mew VMAX. This is a deck that has been around for quite some time. And really, guys, the strategy behind this deck has become, especially Double Turbo Mew, has just kind of become copying Genesect's attack, which does 210 damage. We have access to cards like Power Tablet. Of course, we have Choice Belt. We run things like Squeaky Chair Time, Cross Switcher, to bring up Pokemon just for some cheap, easy KOs. And the deck that I kind of went for, or I guess the route that I went for with this deck, was like the Path of the Peak Judge option. So Mew VMAX, I'm going to go ahead and read this card for you guys. We are only doing the first attack with this card, and it is going to be Cross Fusion Strike. Choose one of your bench Fusion Strike Pokemon's attacks, and use it as its attack. So there have been times where I have used Mew V's attack to shuffle Mew back into the deck, but most of the time you're going to be copying Genesect V's attack, which does a nice 210 damage. But during your next turn, this Pokemon can attack, which is fine because Mew, of course, has free retreat. Most of the time is going to get knocked out anyway. But we run Cross Switcher and things like that. We also run Switch, which is really nice. We do run the double turbo version. I do run one Oricorio because Oricorio taking off that damage, that extra, it takes off 20, which is really nice because it can just really screw with decks and their numbers and such. But basically kind of how, especially against Lugia, I would try to go for like the Judge Path of the Peak options just to kind of limit their hand size, limit their options. And then from there, just kind of try to set up a Mew VMAX and start putting on pressure early. And I already mentioned that we do have things like Power Tablet in here to increase your Mew's damage by 30. On top of that, we have Cram-O-Matic, we have Battle VIP Pass for fast setups. Big Parasol is in here for the Yveltal, so that was nice. We have Forest Steel Stone, which can allow us to grab any card out of our deck. Mew does get a V-Star power with this deck, with this card, which is really nice. Pal Path to shuffle some stuff back in here. We do have Silene to throw our special energy back into the deck. You can also throw our Judge back in the deck, Power Type, whatever we need for whatever situation. You can throw that back in there. And then, of course, we do run Pal Pets. That way we get extra access to all of our supporters. Roxanne, of course, once they knock out one Mew, it automatically triggers Roxanne. So a Path of the Peak Roxanne play could just be huge and crucial for you. We run 2 Lost Vacuums just in case we do need to get rid of our own Path of the Peak, or if we need to get rid of a tool, get rid of just something on our opponent's side of the field, we can do that. Yeah, overall, guys, just a very simple deck. Path of the Peak just kind of obviously shuts our deck off, but it helps out against certain matchups because, you know, if Lugia can't Summoning Star, then they're forced to sit there and manually attach. Yeah, you're really just kind of setting up your field and then just copying Genesect over and over and then just pitching item cards using Fusion Strike System. God, we need to talk about that. So Fusion Strike System just allows you to draw until you have as many cards in your hand as you do Fusion Strike Pokemon. Apologies, I forgot to read this. So basically, we're just kind of dumping all these item cards out and then just drawing a crazy amount of cards. That's why Battle VIP Pass makes this deck so good. It's because if you can open one of them and then get like a Quick Ball or something like that, you can start drawing a lot of cards. So it doesn't limit you to once per turn on like Genesect in general. As long as you have like multiple Genesect, you can just keep using Fusion Strike System. But yeah, this deck got me 1 match win at Arlington Regionals. Had a lot of close games, but overall it was not a fun time. But yeah, I thought I would go ahead and end it on this deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. I'm going to be going ahead and preparing to build some stuff for next format. I'm hoping that it's a nice little refresher. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I really wanted to show all the decks that I just kind of had built, just because this was like the first time that I had all these decks built for the basically IRL. I had a lot of stuff that I could build and play and use and stuff, and I just thought that was really fun. So I wanted to showcase them in a video. But thank you all so much for the amazing support. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care, guys. Much love to you. And as always, this is Epic Pokemon TCG, signing out.
Don't forget to like, follow, and obey.